SOL stands for Self-Organized Learning Environment, and it is the strategy I use to support my inquiry-based learning. In a SOL classroom, students are working very closely with one another. They're working in groups of 3 or 4. They're working in pods to research, collaborate, find answers to the questions that they are asking themselves when we start a new lesson. So we are submersed in inquiry-based learning throughout the day. Students have the ability to go to the technology to find out questions to find out answers to their questions. They look at multiple medias, so they may be accessing textbooks, they may be accessing the library, and then of course the internet access. They're working together, they're researching together and making jot notes and having conversations. So it's very much a student-led process where they're given the outcome that we're trying to achieve, and then they kind of go in the direction that they want to go in.
Band council have?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. What role does
The local band
local...
I used to be that teacher that was at the front of the room, and I would have the handouts all ready for them with the information. So for example, if we were learning about rocks and minerals, I would have like multiple handouts about these are what rocks are, these are minerals, and we'd talk about all of those sorts of things. But this time, I don't do that anymore. So I'm not the teacher anymore, I'm more the facilitator. So I'm no longer the knowledge keeper. The students are the ones that are finding that knowledge out for themselves.
Local Band Council, Tribal Council, Federation of Saskatchewan Indian Nations, and Assembly of Nations. Would you combine those all into one big question?
No.
In the beginning, I felt like I needed to change my classroom environment. So the third teacher really came into play here, and the third teacher is the environment. So Arlene Lowe talked about the things that would be in an inquiry-based environment. So bringing in green things like artificial plants, bringing in different types of seating for the kids, and kind of one of the main things was getting rid of those desks and bringing in those tables. So in the beginning, that was probably one of my challenges, is where was I going to store all of the kids' belongings? And so once you got the organizational piece kind of wrapped around my head, then I was excited. I was excited to get rid of the desks and bring in the tables, because I felt like for true collaboration to start and to begin, we needed to have tables so that there was no way the kids could pull apart, so they were, a cohesive group. So curriculum outcomes are kind of like the first and foremost in the delivery of the unit. So students are given the outcome and the indicator that we may be working on that day. And so it's just kind of in a little booklet that they have. And so outcome, we are always talking about what outcome we're trying to meet, and then the indicator for that lesson that's going to help us meet that final outcome. And with the indicator, the kids come up with their questions. So we try to ask some deep understanding questions to drive that research process. So once the students have come up with the questions, then they are off to go and do some research. And to make that research process easier, I've created some live binders. And so they go into the Live Binder app, or it's also online, and they click on a binder that I've created for them, and it's just a compilation of the different websites I have found on different topics that will help support that overall unit that we're doing. So it helps streamline the research process a little bit for them, so that they can focus on the material rather than wasting their time trying to find the material. So outcomes are very much at the forefront of every lesson. So what is different is that the kids are now the ones who are reading and analyzing and evaluating the information that they're learning, and they're making jot notes, or they're filling out a graphic organizer, or they're creating a mind map or a thing link on the iPad, or whatever it may be. And they're doing that collaboratively. So then at the end of the day, when it's time for the final summative assessment, I've really changed my philosophy of assessment. And to do that, I thought of myself as a learner, and what do I want to be given as an assessment to best show my learning. And I don't want to just be one that has to memorize. I want to be given that chance to be able to show everything I know. And I think that when kids are just asked to memorize, we're not getting a true representation of what they know. So I share that with the kids so that they can understand why I allow them for a final assessment to go back into their binder where they've collected their information, or why I may allow them to go back to the internet to clear up a muddy point for them if they need to for the final assessment. So they're given a checklist of what path that they want to take, whether they want to take a level 3 path, a level 4, a level 5, it's their choice, and they can access any materials that they need to achieve that. The only difference is that it's not a collaborative assessment anymore, it's now an individual assessment. So part of the Soul Classroom pays particular attention to the learning environment. So that's where I brought in the tables and the different places for kids to sit. So we have chairs and we have different types of stools. And so it's empowering the students to choose where they want to sit, where they want to work, and how they want to work. So once the instruction has been delivered and it's time for them to work together in their groups, they choose where they're going to work. So they can choose to stay at the table, or they can choose to move to the mats, or they can sit on the floor with a clipboard. We have different sizes of tables, different levels of tables, so that if they want to sit on the floor and work at a table, there's that option. There's the reading corner with beanbag chairs, and there's artificial plants. So it's bringing in some of natural things and then allowing them to make those choices.
I know that we really work together a lot, and I really like how we do that.
Yeah, it's awesome just to have the ability to work around the room and collaborate with our classmates, and we get it's way better than sitting in a textbook and just writing down all these. When we can work with technology and other people.
Yeah.
We get to work in groups, so we collaborate a lot, and we get to use technology a lot. So we get to research on iPads. Each table has their own iPad, and we share all our supplies.
Well, for one, most people just have individual desks. We have 4 people at one desk, or 5 or 3. Yeah, it's better for working together, but not so good for working alone.
Then you get to go on iPads and work. You get stuff on the iPad.
I like how you can move around in the classroom, because last year I was always cramped because there would be so many people around me and crushing me. And so yeah, I like how you can move around in the classroom.
I think working together, working with our friends and our group.
Yeah, it's a hard decision, but it's probably, just having the ability to work together and work around the classroom instead of sitting working in a textbook all day.
Well, I think it's really good that we don't have to sit in a normal everyday chairs all the time, because that's one of the things that made me cramped in grade 3. So I like it that we can have a type of stool that doesn't make your body all stiff and cramped.
I feel engagement has risen in my classroom. They're excited to use the technology. That for sure is a selling point for them. They enjoy working with one another. It's really great to see them asking each other questions, helping each other out when they're unsure of something. And so for the most part, all of the kids have been really positive. Parents, the same thing. They are really interested in what the classroom looks like. In the beginning of the year, I sent home a brochure trying to explain a little bit what SOL was, so they had an idea. At parent-teacher interviews, we had lots of questions about what we were doing in the classroom, and they all thought that it was a really neat idea, kind of a unique, very much unique idea, but all positive comment. You know, last year was kind of like my experimental year, and so this year I can kind of fine-tune things a little bit, so I've been able to bring in different aspects into the SOL classroom. So we have a classroom blog that I didn't have last year before. Twitter account, we've kind of fine-tuned our Twitter account, where last year we had it, but this year now I'm more comfortable, and so it's kind of a free Twitter account for all the kids to use. So at any point of the day, if they want to tweet something that they've learned, then they can log on to our Twitter account and tweet. So the differences are more my comfort level and my confidence level, because even at the beginning of the year, it's still a challenge to help those kids figure it out, how to work together, how to cooperate with one another and collaborate and ask those deep questions. With them working collaboratively with one another, that's kind of the number one thing that has changed with them. They know how to work together to come to a consensus when they disagree, or to a compromise when they're, you know, having two different ideas going on. So there's been increased collaboration, increased leadership skills, which has been probably another major focus for this classroom. We're really talking about what does it take to be a leader? How does a leader act in that group? What are the responsibilities that a leader needs to do, and really empowering them to take those leadership roles on. So I've really noticed that increase. Another thing that have noticed is that just their development of the researching process. At the beginning of the year, you know, they were pretty timid with, you know, looking on the internet or looking in books, and now it's kind of like just a thing that happens. So when it's time to do the research, well, two of them are going to get a textbook to bring back to their table, and one of them is going to go get the iPad, and so they just know where to go. And I tell them that it's not really me teaching them the content anymore, it's about me teaching them how to learn, and they're learning how to learn.